Hi everyone, so it's Karen here, and I want to spend a couple minutes today doing a bit of a tutorial. I recently bought two new Chic Sparrow Traveler's Notebook covers, and one of the ones I bought was an A5, which is perfect because I have a few inserts that size already. With the other one, it was a wide, and I found that I only had one or two inserts that were the right size for that. So I started looking around for where I could get some, then I thought, well, I can try making them. And it turns out that it's really super easy to make your own inserts for a traveler's notebook. And what you need to do is just take the measurements. So this is my little bit of hieroglyphics here. I have a wide TN and I want to make the inserts. So the inserts, if you go to the Chic Sparrow page, you'll find that the inserts are 8 1/4 inches tall by 5 inches wide. So to make a traveler's notebook or an insert for that, we'll need pieces of paper that are 8 1/2 inches tall and double that width. So when we have our notebook laying flat open, it's going to be 8 1/4 inches from the top to the bottom and 10 inches across from one side all the way across to the other side. So when it's folded in half and closed, it'll be 8 1/4 by 5 inches, which will fit the wide TN. So if you just go and look at the insert measurements that you need for any particular size of a traveler's notebook, just get those measurements and then just work out what the measurements are. Check and see what the dimensions are, the height and the width, and then double the width to give you the size of the piece of paper that you'll need. So what I want to do with mine, I have a few supplies I have. I bought a little kit on Amazon for doing basic bookbinding, and it included a couple bone folders and some wax string and the needles. I also bought a set of, I have some yarn in here too. I also bought a set of the binder clips. It makes it nice and easy for when you want to hold it together for when you're getting ready to stitch it together. So today I want to make three quick notebooks or inserts. The first one I'm going to do just with the cover with just basic cardstock, and the other two I have some sheets of 12 by 12 scrapbook paper, and this is the heavier cardstock weight paper. You could probably use the lighter paper as well. It probably wouldn't be any problem, and it might just be the cover might not be as strong. And then I just bought a sketch pad. So this is a little bit heavier paper than regular photocopy printer paper. You could in all likelihood just use that, although you might find that you're just going to have a lot of bleed through. I'll test this. I might find that I regret using this particular paper. But anyways, 100 sheets, it's 9 by 12 inches, so it'll be perfectly good size for what I want to do. And at Ollie's it was $2.99. So nice easy size to work with and nice and inexpensive. So I'll use my paper cutter. So cut this little excess bit off. Actually, I gotta get all the fluff out of here. Okay, so first off I want to trim down the paper a little bit. So take this little edge off. Then I'll want to decide whether I want this way or do I want my cover this way. I think this way. So I want to have it 8¼ inches tall. So I will do it just a smidge taller than 8¼ just so there's a little extra room. So we'll keep this extra sheet for something later. So that'll be the height. And then now I need it to be 10 inches wide. I like that green on there. And then I just want to fold it. Use my bone folder to get a nice crisp edge. And here we have our cover. We'll decide later if I want this piece with the nail on the front or the back. So there's cover number 1. I also want to use this. This one actually has a it's got an edge on it that we can tear this off. So again, we want it to be 8¼ I want to do just a tiny bit taller. And 10 inches. Again, we'll save this little extra bit. So here we have the beginning of our second cover. Bone folder. So here we have our second cover. And the third, we're just going to do a plain. So this one, again, we want it, we're 8½ by 11. So we should be pretty close to, I think I'll just leave it at that. We might want to trim a drop off that after. So for this one, we'll just have a plain white cover, and then we'll be able to decorate it later. I think I'll probably either add stamps or collage, or I'm not sure what. But here we have, so this one's just, the plain white one's just a smidge. Actually, maybe I will take that drop off. 8¼ or just a drop. Let's just take that little piece off. Now he's a bit shorter than the other two. Anywho, so we have our three covers. Now what I want to do next is we need our pages to go in there. Pages. So if we do 10 pages, 10 pieces of paper will give us 40 sides to write on. If we do 15, that'll give us 60. Okay, so each of these we need to trim down to size. I'll do them 5 at a time because it's not very thick paper. And so we want it 10 inches. Want it to be 10 inches wide. By 8 1/4 tall. Bone folder. So we have our first 5 pages. Again, 10 inches. Right, by 8 1/4. Together. One thing we will notice that we'll probably want to trim off this excess here, because as you tuck them together, you end up with this slanting out this way. Actually, I'm thinking this might be thick enough for. We'll save these 5 for the next booklet. So what we want to do next, we'll just get this out of the way for a minute, is we want to put each of the whole stack of papers inside one of the covers. And then what we'll want to do now is we need to bind this all together. And I like using, excuse me, I like using a pamphlet stitch and a sewn in binding. So if we just take, I just like to take, a lot of people recommend using an old phone book. Those are a little harder to come by nowadays. So I'm just going to use this book that I just happen to have just sitting in the room here. Gorgeous book about roses. So we need our awl. We need our waxed string. And we also need a needle. Now you're probably fine using any kind of needle you have at home with a fairly large eye in it. And I also like to use some binder. You can use binder clips, you can use just regular paper clips to hold your booklet together a little bit better. So the guy does not want to come out. So what I like to do and what I've seen other people recommend doing is you take your book and then you just attach it nicely with either paper clip or with binder clips. And what that does is it just helps to keep all the papers all together and in one place for when you're trying to get the sewing done. I have also made a little template where I mark where I like the five holes to be punched into an insert. You can see I just have a slip of paper that I've made that fits into about the 8 1/4 height. So what we need to do is just take our paper, just take the awl and just stab through each of the spots where you've made a marking here. Doesn't have to be precise. You also don't want to I stabbed my finger. Do as I say, not as I do here, people. So I just want to make these holes a little bit bigger, just by pushing the awl through a little farther, just to make sure that the opening's a little easier for sewing. And by putting it into a book like this, you end up with the holes being lined up a lot nicer along the spine. So next we want to sew this up. And what I like to use is the wax thread. You can also use, you can use dental floss. You can use, I used yarn on one. It's a light yarn. You could probably use crochet cotton. I've also used quite often embroidery thread. So you can use all sorts of different types of things for stitching it together. What I like to do is measure my string, whatever I'm using, about 3 times the length. And I didn't bring my scissors. I'll be back in 2 seconds. So cut this at about 3 times the length of the spine. So get your needle threaded. And you start with the middle hole, pull it through, leaving a good okay, you got to hang on to it because it tries to get away on you. So get back. Okay, leave a few inches, come up the second hole down from the center, back down the very bottom one, come back up this same hole again, and then you'll want to bypass the center, go back up to the second hole from the top, come up through the very top opening, the top hole, go back down the second one again, and then come back up the center opening. When you come up through the center hole again, come up on the opposite side of this thread that's running down the middle, so that you have one end coming out this side, one end coming out that side. So you have the basics of the stitching done. Quick, easy peasy. And then what you want to do is just get it nice and tightened up. I'm going to check and see, this is a little bit loose here. And it doesn't have to be super duper tight, but you want to have it nicely taut, and then just tie it up in a knot. I like to do it 3 times. You can trim down the excess. You can leave a little extra on here if you want to attach a little a charm or something to it. But there we have it. We have one insert that is going to fit nicely into my Mr. Darcy wide TN. So we take my Mr. Darcy wide, open it up, and see I have a standard insert. It's too small. This is just the right size. It's the Moleskine large. I never remember the pronunciation, but you can see this is the same size as that one. So we'll just take our little, pull up one of the strings. I will have to trim the top down just a smidge. And there we have perfectly fitting insert for your wide TN. So it fits in just nice. I will trim down this top just a smidge because it is just a drop too long. Let's fix that right now. Take this guy out since he doesn't quite fit. So there we have it. It's a little bit on the thin side. You can easily add more pages. So there you have an insert that fits perfectly into your wide TN from Chic Sparrow. So I'm going to spend a couple minutes. I will assemble the other three or the other two, and I'll show you what they all look like in just a couple minutes. There we have 3 little TN wide inserts that you can make relatively quickly and easily on your own with no troubles. So the first one was with scrapbook paper, 10 pieces of paper, which gives you 40 sides to write on. The second one I used just plain white cardstock, and again 10 pieces of paper inside to make 40 sides to write on. This final one is again made with cardstock, and this one I put in 15 pieces of paper, which gives you 60 sides to write on. So it's a little bit thicker than the other ones are, but not hugely different. So there we have. Let's pop them into my notebook. And then this one I'm going to do some collage and decoration on the front and probably back covers of this. I might wait until it's done. Maybe not. We'll see. So there we have one store-bought notebook and three homemade notebooks to pop into the TN. I can't even find where one stops and ends. there we go. So they fit in perfectly, the perfect size. They don't jut out too much anywhere. So they make for just a perfect size to put into your little traveler's notebook, whatever size you have. You just need to find out what the exact measurements are of the inserts and then use those measurements to make your own. I'm just looking for my little cheat sheet. There we go. So again, just get a little cheat sheet where all you need to have is, this case it was a wide TN insert, and the inserts we need for that size are 8 1/4 tall by 5 inches wide. So I always like to draw little diagrams. So 8 1/4 tall by 5 inches across the back cover, 5 inches across the front cover. So when you open it up, you need a piece of paper that's going to be 8 1/4 tall by 10 inches wide. Then you fold it in half along the longer side so that you have 5 for the front, 5 for the back, and then stitch it up. And away you go. Easy. You can staple it if you want to, if you have a long arm stapler. I don't have such an animal, so I can't do it that way. But as you saw on there, it's pretty quick and simple and easy to sew it together yourself. The particular little bookbinding kit that I bought on Amazon, I'll post a link down in the description to that. I think it was less than $10. I'm sure it was less than $10. It was very inexpensive. It comes with 2 bone folders, the needles, the thread, the awl. So it comes with everything you need for it. I bought the little binder clips at the Dollar Tree. So the whole package cost me $1. And so it's pretty quick and easy to make these yourself. So I hope you give it a try. If you do, link me on social media. Let me know if you tried them yourself. I'd love to see what you make. And I hope you found this helpful. If you do, please like and subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate that. And take care, and we'll catch you guys again soon. Bye now.